right, I have 9:30. Today is Tuesday, March 4, 2025. We are in the boardroom for our regular meeting. Let's start by convening the meeting with roll call, please.
Erickson? Here. DeWitt?
Here.
Arnold?
Here.
McIntyre?
Here.
Here. We do have a quorum. Kindly rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any agenda deletions or corrections? Seeing none, item number 1 is the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda will be enacted by one motion. Minutes to approve, February 18, 2025 board meeting, February 18, 2025 work session. B, approve payroll removal, Kurt Brown, Warren County Engineer Office, effective 4/21/2025. C, approve job reclassification, Tim Hill, Warren County Engineer, effective 2/21/2025. Congratulations, Tim. A motion on the consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Erickson?
Aye.
DeWitt?
Aye.
Arnold?
Aye.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Number 2 is claims. We have a claims figure of $226,337.34. Do I have a motion on the claims?
I'll make a motion to approve claims.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Erickson?
Aye.
DeWitt?
Aye.
Arnold?
Aye.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Cook?
Aye. Motion carries. Number 3, City of Norwalk update from Luke Nelson. Good morning, Luke.
Morning. We tested this twice, so third time's a charm, it'll work. I put paper copies in front of you, just in case something breaks down, but so far it's working. So I'll introduce myself, Luke Nelson, City Manager in Norwalk, and actually with me today is Lindsay Offenberger. She is our city clerk and also our director of internal operations. And a couple of the projects I'm going to talk about, she's had a very critical role. So I wanted her here to also give you a little input on what she went through, primarily on the annexation stuff. With that said, just a general update. I like getting down here when I can. This is my first chance to get in front of the full 5-member board. So welcome back, Crystal, and welcome to all others. Welcome back, Aaron, to some extent. Good to see you all here. I mentioned this before, I say it each time. I really enjoy a dialogue when possible, so if you do have questions in the middle of me talking about something, just interrupt me, feel free. I enjoy the questions. Okay. So I'm going to give you a real short presentation, something I did with City Council. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there's a little bit of a kind of a downward look at government in general lately. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. Specifically, even from the state down to the local level, and I understand you all are probably feeling some of the same pinches that we are. Mm-hmm. So I put together this presentation that I like to do with citizens to help give a little perspective on what their property tax dollar looks like. So to show this dollar, imagine that this is your property tax dollar. Of that property tax dollar, about 45%. Now I'm talking to citizens in the city of Norwalk, so I realize these could shift a little bit if you're in Carlisle, Indianola, or even in the rural areas. But if you're in town, 45% of your property tax dollar goes to the school, about 37% comes to the city, so the portion that we have control over, about 15% to the county, and then state and other make up that final 3%. So the portion that we are talking about with our local citizens is that 37%. Now, not always, but typically about, most people will say that emergency services, those essential local services, get taken off the table when we talk about making adjustments or making cuts. All of this in an effort to say we want to lower property taxes, if that's the effort. So generally we keep emergency services off the table. So automatically that takes about half of our budget. So what we're talking about is the remaining 17% of your property tax dollar. That covers library, parks, recreation, pool, community development, and a number of other local general services. So what does that mean to the average Property taxpayer, well, according to Rocket Mortgage, our average mortgage is about $330,000 in Norwalk. You apply the rollback, so taxable value is about $151,000. Divide that by 1,000 to come up with your levy calculation. Our levy is $14.88, which brings you to about $2,300 for your city tax. If we subtract public safety, that takes off about $1,130. So what we're left with is the amount of dollars that the city could come in and say, okay, now with these remaining dollars, we can make some meaningful change. So this morning, my wife and I are having a cup of coffee and watching the news. And she asked me what I was doing today. I told her about this presentation. And I said, there's one spot in this presentation that I like to get an idea what somebody might say. So instead of putting anybody on the spot, I'm putting my wife on the spot. So I said to her, what would be a meaningful change for you from the government, just in general? Like a meaningful dollar amount each month that would come to you. I said, is it $20, $50? She said, $500. Oh, all right, yep, that would be a meaningful amount. Well, it just so happens that if we cut every single government service beyond our essential, those necessary fire, police, EMS, we could save people $94 a month.
Wow.
So it turns out to not be this earth-shattering number. So even if we say, hey, $50 a month, that's meaningful. That means you're taking half of all those services and cutting them right down the middle. So it's just kind of a good perspective to give people that when you're talking about meaningful property tax changes, when you break it down in those basic numbers, it helps a little bit with understanding. So something else along these lines that we put together, as we do for people in our community, we put together a sample scenario where somebody could come in and look at real meaningful cuts to make an impact on property taxes. And it's called You Make the Cuts. I don't know how well everybody will be able to see this, but hopefully you'll get the point. So within this form, you jump in here and you plug in what your home value is. And this tells you how much your local city property taxes are.
That's good.
The portion that comes to the city. And then you come down here and you look at all these different ways or these methods to lower property taxes. So it says on the left, you choose, and then it says methods to lower property tax. So the first one right on the list is reduce speed enforcement in neighborhoods. So if we took about half of the amount of time of one of our police officers of going out and patrolling neighborhoods, that means we would need half of one less officer, which would be a savings about $65,000. So you can select that and say, yep, I want to do that. So that results in an annual monthly savings of $1.02. And then over on the right, we include what the real world explanation is, or how does that actually impact you as a citizen. So you can go down through this list and identify anything, hey, I want to reduce city hall hours. I want to reduce kids programming at Parks and Recreation. I want to move our Westcom dispatch back to Warren County. That's kind of a big savings. Stop mowing the right-of-way. Just let the weeds grow up, we'll let that go. So all of these cost savings, if you decided, hey, this is what I want to make for all the cuts, it gets added up at the top, and it will show you what your monthly savings are, which would be $15.08. So all these different items, all of our department heads came up with some ideas, and it was kind of tough because we had to say to these departments that pride themselves on providing service, hey, think of things that you can stop doing. That's hard for some city departments to do. When they did, I said, even if you don't want to do it, put it on the list, just so we can start the conversation. And oftentimes when I have these discussions with people, they're kind of shocked at even some of these big numbers, what the end result is, that it's not as impactful as they might think.
Luke, also, I assume you're tracking these? And do you have like an idea what's something people most commonly cut?
We have not gone down that path.
Okay.
We've gone to the extent of creating this form. Actually, I've met with a number of other metro managers where we've talked about this concept and how that would be shared. I had one person say, well, be careful, because if you just sent that out to everybody, they think that if they check the box that I want to do this, that automatically that just happens. I don't think that's the case, but nevertheless, through the conversation, we put a disclaimer at the bottom that just because you check that box doesn't actually mean that would happen. We also set it up so that any city, even the county, you could go in and plug your own numbers or whatever your levy is, put in whatever your reductions might be.
Love it.
You know, all of you could do that, go through that format, and it might help you just think about what those end results would be.
Love it.
Okay, next item, so big change of topic, census. Just to let you know, we did do a special census. We saw an increase. We expected to be over 15,000, and I can go into a lot more detail, and I'm sure Lindsay could go into a ton more detail, but we were not happy with the performance of the Census Bureau. Their process they went through to acquire staff to go out and do counts seemed way too robust beyond what they needed to be able to go out and do those counts. I know there's different federal regulations, but they really struggled to find enough staff that could actually go out there and do effective counts. I can't believe how many just citizens I've talked to, and they said, I never got anything. I don't think I was ever counted. So I was a little disappointed. Nevertheless, it still came back at a significant number over our 2020 census. So as of now, our official count for Norwalk is 14,334.
What was the 2020 census?
It was 12,488.
Great.
Luke, you can add 5. My house also wasn't counted.
Good to know. Thanks, Aaron. Okay, so I'm going to have Lindsay come up and talk about this one, and this has to do with our annexation, and she's just going to go through kind of the process we went through and where we're at.
Yeah, thank you. I think it was a couple years ago, actually, Luke, you just asked me, like, hey, could you look at a map and see what would be the best path to take Norwalk city limits from its current city limits out to I-35 and try to pick an area with the least amount of homes. So we did that. And ironically, that's the path that we ended up using for our annexation, which was pretty exciting.
Nice.
So we started, I believe it was probably last August, talking to property owners in this highlighted yellow area about the option to voluntarily annex into the city of Norwalk, and surprisingly had overwhelmingly positive response from those people. We had meetings with each one of them, went over a voluntary annexation agreement with them about what they could continue to do with their land until it was rezoned, and all but one property owner signed those annexation agreements. I think some of you are already aware of that. The non-consenting owner is on the map in the dashed red. He just really had no interest in signing that annexation agreement. So from there, we met with the County Board of Supervisors, we met with the City of Cumming, the City of Martinsdale, the school districts, and just West Des Moines. Wanted to make sure everybody was aware of our plan. Ultimately, we met with the City Development Board on February 12th, I believe it was, and they unanimously approved this annexation of about 2,900 acres. So we're currently in the 30-day waiting period for appeals. So if no appeal is filed, they will officially submit it to the Secretary of State and Warren County on March 13th.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks. It's exciting. And we already have, I guess I should say, I think it's 4 other property owners that, of course, you're probably aware when you send these mailings out, you have to do adjoining property owners. And we've got 4 that have come to us and said, hey, I want to be part of that. So we're going to start the process all over again.
All voluntary.
All voluntary, yeah. Yep. Questions?
How will the non-consenting property owner be handled? What are you doing there?
That property's coming in
Okay.
because it's considered an 80-20 annexation, so it can still come in as consenting, or voluntary, I should say, just non-consenting. So that property owner just doesn't have a voluntary annexation agreement with us. Okay. I'm not sure that we've come up with a plan as to how to handle that right now. I think more than likely, given where it's at in location, it's probably going to be maybe like a complaint-based thing if something's happening on the land that maybe shouldn't be now that it's inside the city, or when it's inside the city limits.
And that's ag property right now?
Correct, yep, and everything's coming in to the city as ag as well. So
2 homes?
2 homes, yep. Actually 3, I apologize, but 2 are in an area that developers are looking at purchasing, and then 1 is clear out by the interstate, which I believe might be a vacant home right now.
Are there any homes on the non-consenting property owner?
No, his home is actually across the street from the boundary, so we intentionally left that out. We really did not want to we wanted to stay away from homes. We knew the property tax implications would be high, so
Okay.
we tried to avoid that as much as possible.
All right. Thank you.
You know, one thing I'll add about the non-consenting property owner, he attended our hearing with the City Development Review Board, and it's been interesting. We've probably met with him more than any of the property owners. He's been very professional and decent with us. At the City Development Review Board, we said it really just comes down to an agreement to disagree, and then he proceeded to get up and he said, listen, I like Norwalk. He goes, they have good plans, they're doing good things. He goes, I just don't want my property in the city. So, I mean, all things considered, we're not coming away as enemies. And he said, if it does happen, he goes, then, you know, that's the way it goes. But he said, I just feel like I need to fight it as long as I can. Wow. So of a disagreement, that's about the best we could ask for.
Very good.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay.
So related to the annexation, I always feel really good about this map, but I realize when I throw it up on the screen, it's hard to understand what it means. I'll show on this one. So this is Highway 28, with a bulk of Norwalk being here. This is Interstate 35. So this road network, those are a bunch of different options of what different paths of a roadway getting from Highway 28 out to the interstate. The idea being that each one of these alternatives comes with a list of pros and cons. This is information we would provide to developers. The city's not going to be in the business, at least not in the near term, of just going out there and looking for a bunch of right-of-way. This is guidance that as development occurs to help identify where that road path might go and understanding some of the pitfalls. But this was a key point used when we met with property owners to show what might happen for the transportation network. The other one that you folks are more familiar with, at least some of you, are the large sanitary sewer interceptor that will head west. This is actually part of a grant that was provided by the county. At the time we made application, the grant was a large portion. By the time we actually went out for bid, so we anticipated originally that the cost would be about $7 million. It turned out to be about $10 million to go from the green circle to the red circle. That's the first phase, and that's about $10 million of sanitary sewer improvements. It's critical partly because if you look at that extension of that white dash line heading out west, both of those lines show terminating at about Interstate 35. But just to give you an idea, Interstate 35 is about half of the service area for that pipe. So it continues to go a whole nother distance where it will serve an area, that whole flow shed that goes west. Incidentally, just yesterday, we had a meeting with West Des Moines talking about what the future of that additional phases of that pipe might look like. And what's interesting, at one point in time, there was 8 of us sitting around the table, Public Works Director, Community Development, Economic Development, City Administration, and I made the comment, by the time we're talking about that sanitary sewer getting out to Interstate 35, it's probably a whole different room of people. So the things that we're working on today, we won't even see that come to fruition just because it's going to take that long for development to occur. But that's the kind of appropriate planning that we have to do to be efficient with growth. Assume that something might come up, a question about certified site. So I wanted to make sure I touched on that. You may recall that the reason that we came to you for the grant was to expand the certified site. We actually pumped the brakes. We came into you, made an amendment to our grant agreement. We paused the certified site because of what is called Project West that is proposed within that red circle area. So the intention of a certified site, get a property shovel ready so that a light industrial user can come in and use that, build out. Well, as we were going through the certified site process, that prospect came in. They're set to close on land in April, so we're very excited to see that happen. Hopefully, they close on the land and they continue to move forward. We're working on development agreements with that large development company. So that's something that would greatly benefit Norwalk as well as the county. So even though it's not being titled certified site, the end goal is being met. This one, I'm not going to go through this full list, but I handed it out to each one of you. These are all the new projects coming up, probably one of the most exciting, Cooper's at Norwalk Central. So I'm a big fan of Winchester's and Cooper and Valley Junction, so it's nice to see them come to Norwalk. But there's a lot of other great ones happening. Fairway now being fully open, the Starbucks, gosh, they're crazy busy. So a lot of positive development happening in that Norwalk Central area, and that's just one location. We're also seeing things down in the Dunn Industrial Park, which is just adjacent to that certified site we were just talking about. We're working on a new entrance sign to Norwalk. All those fences that are along Highway 28 as you come in from the north through Norwalk, some of them don't look the best. Although we need to give the property owners credit or give them an out because we've told them we're going to come in and replace those. So don't work on them. So if they're looking really shoddy right now, it's because we've had a plan to replace all those with a nice uniform wall along both sides of the road. Our next water tower, that went out to bid, actually got very favorable bids on that. Finishing up the Holland Point lift station, that opened up another 300 acres of development ground just west of 80th. So there's a bunch more on the list there that you can take a look at if you'd like. I think this is the last slide, and this is our 2035 Envision Norwalk, and these are the 6 primary goals that council came up with from left to right. Master plan and new urbanism. So this is looking at some new types of development in various areas to open up moving away from some of that cookie cutter type design. Not that everything goes in this direction, but having pockets that fit that new urbanism or walkable areas. Continuing to work on the North River and I-35 interchange. Focusing on walkability and connecting our neighborhoods. We have good connections. We've connected the Great Western Trail, but now we have some spot repairs to do in the community to make good trail connections. And then how Norwalk is viewed. We hear so much from our citizens saying they want to maintain their small town feel. And sometimes that is just understanding, well, maybe this is a Beaverdale neighborhood, or maybe this is, for us, like an Echo Valley neighborhood, or we have Orchard Hills, trying to help people identify into kind of some smaller districts within town so they feel more connected in their area and they can maintain that small town feel. Highway 28, just taking an overall focus on the drivability and improve Highway 28 and balance our tax base, which we're really going after development around that certified site area and expanding light industrial and commercial development. Any questions?
Very amazing.
I'd like to give you a compliment on the worksheet, as well as I like your planning. I like this plan that I'm seeing on this last page, and I like how you have integrated your city council and your mayor, as well as your department heads. I think it's strategic, and I think in looking at this and knowing some of these people, I think that where they're the champion, that's probably somewhere where they're going to really succeed because they're passionate about that. So kudos to Norwalk. I think you're doing great work.
Thank you. Yeah, that's fun. It helps our department heads as well because they get to understand what elected official to contact. Sometimes, like you now with 5, those are a lot of minds at the table. But when we can kind of divide those up, some of those responsibilities, it really helps some of that focus. Helps our department heads, helps the elected officials as well.
Luke, well, first of all, it's an ambitious plan, and I really like. I mean, we really in Warren County, we need a place to locate commercial businesses, and I guess one thing maybe is you didn't cover like the timeline. Like obviously, there's not a interstate interchange at Fillmore Avenue, and I know this is long-term planning, but do you have any idea of like the kind of the scope or timing? I mean, I know something like an interstate interchange. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of times maybe, 10, 15 years down the road. But do you have any idea of what the, like, kind of the timeline looks at for?
Yeah, I would say more than 7 and less than 50.
Okay, thank you.
It really depends on development too. If, I can't even think of a type of user, but imagine one of the biggest commercial or industrial type users that would add so much value to the area that says, hey, we want to plop right here next to the interstate. The influence of some of that private business on federal dollars to come in and help make that happen, it could probably happen in that 7-year time frame. If that doesn't happen and it's just the city and the county gradually, incrementally moving out there, we're probably closer to that 50-year mark. So it's kind of funny, but I think it's kind of realistic that that is a safe estimate of time.
Very good.
It's a good question.
Just wanted to say thank you. You're doing a great job. I know that there's always ups and downs in government, and it is an impossibility to make everyone happy. But I genuinely appreciate how the city of Norwalk plans for not just next week or next year, but they're thinking, hey, where do we want to be in 20 or 30 years? And if you're not doing that, that's going to be problematic. But I will also add that it's not a certified site, but with the growth and development in that commercial light industrial zone, that benefits everybody, folks. That benefits the Norwalk School District. That benefits and broadens the tax base in Norwalk. It broadens the tax base in the county. I know most of you don't like property taxes. I've heard from you. I get it. If you don't like property taxes, then you either spend a whole lot less money to provide services, you collect the same amount and provide a whole lot less services, or you broaden the tax base. You pick one of the three. And Norwalk's doing a really good job stepping on the gas to help what I would tell you is the best option, which is broaden the tax base through growth. Because I know folks don't want to lose services. I know folks don't want to have their daughter or son play t-ball, but it costs $500 from the city or it's cut. I know that, right? You know that. So they're doing a great job, and I appreciate you and what you're all doing. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, number 4, consider Warren County employment hiring freeze effective immediately with possible action. Well, I suppose I will lead this one, and sort of like those last comments, one of the ways that a county, a governmental entity can balance their budget is through the spend. And so, I was your supervisor 2 years ago. My term ended a little more than 2 years ago. We had an employee number, total employees at the county. That number has increased somewhat from the jail. That takes into account some of those hires, but we've also grown in addition to that. So we discussed in budget meetings what we wanted to look at as far as staffing numbers, and a hiring freeze is one of the ways that you can reduce cost, because staff benefits, health insurance, IPERS, and pay, that makes a pretty large chunk of your budget. So staff is usually the big driver of a budget. There's only so many projects that you can cut. And I thought it was pretty neat how the city administrator put the what would you cut chart up there, and you can kind of see that there's things that you can cut and where you can get some relief. And so if we're looking to, I'm going to call it right size, the staffing numbers for the county, because we have hard caps coming, right? We do. Every year, well, I'll tell you this, every year for probably the past 10 or 20 years, we have a couple different county levy rates, all right? The main county levy rate that raises the most revenue by far is called the general basic. That is, there's a high cap for it. It's 3.5%, $3.5. I don't want to use percents and transpose them. $3.5 per $1,000 of valuation on taxable value. For the last forever, that has always been maxed out. Almost every county in the state of Iowa will max out their general basic levy rate. I don't know of any that don't. It's possible, but I don't know of them. Everyone pays it. So if you live inside of a city, if you live in rural unincorporated Warren County, you're paying general basic. And that raises by far the most amount of money for tax receipts for the county to do and provide services. It's been 3.5% since, I'm sure Crystal was here. It was always 3.5%. Every county always maxes it. That's just what it is. This year, due to state legislation, those levy rates are coming down, right? Folks voted and said, and sent folks to the Capitol that said, we want property tax relief. We want to lower the property tax impact. And so to do that, the House File 718, which is in effect until 2029, I believe, is basically cramming down the levy rates. So while your valuation may go up, while the county may have increased $210 million of valuation, we don't just run the same levy rate on that. We are taking a reduced levy rate. And this year, the state has set that at 3.29. So there's a 21-cent decrease off of 3.5, which is, I mean, I don't know what the math is, 7.5%, 8%. It's a decrease, and it will decrease next year, and it will decrease the next year, and it will decrease until 2029. The rural basic levy rate also is decreasing. And so because the two main drivers of non-road use tax dollars or others, I mean, the two main receipts where we collect property tax revenue, those two levy rates are going down. So valuations might go up, taxes are going to go down. But because of that, that puts us into a little bit of a bind because we have a budget that we need to do and we need to provide services so that you all can vote in elections, so that if you or someone you know breaks the law, we've got a county attorney that office is gonna prosecute it. We've got a jail for you to stay at. We've got roads for you to drive on. We've got gravel, we've got rock. We have a budget and we have staff. So to get the numbers to fit, I would tell you that we probably have a few more staff members than what's realistic with the realistic numbers that are coming in this year as well as next year. And so rather than passing out pink slips and saying, okay, how many folks do we need to let go? Part of the solution here, in addition to making cuts and trims where appropriate, is to have a hiring freeze. And that hiring freeze means if someone leaves the employment of the county, then before the department head just backfills that position, they got to come back to the board and basically pitch why this is essential to backfill this one, or can we take 6 months to backfill it? Can we take a year? Does it need to be backfilled at all? And we got to make the budget work. So it's sort of a softer, more gentle way to get an appropriate sized government to match the receipts that we've received without being punitive to our folks. So I'm not saying to the department heads who I'm sure are listening, and I know a lot of them have reached out to us, like, what does that look like? What if this person leaves? What if this person leaves? Can I rehire? Like, we're not saying no, we will not rehire, but if we need to get that number to right size the tax receipts, there'll be a few that aren't coming back, and that'll be the way that it has to be until the receipts match the spend. But what we can't do is just spend more than we take in year after year after year, because as I've told you all before, in Warren County, Iowa, and at the state, we don't have a printing press. So I can't deficit spend. We've got reserves that we can use for so long, but at some point, those numbers match or we hit a fiscal cliff. And so this is one proactive step that we can take to start right-sizing Warren County government. And for that reason, I'm in favor of it. Any board discussion?
I would just like to restate what Aaron just touched on with the hiring freeze is not, it's not absolute. We're not saying if you have an opening in your department, you'll never be able to fill that position, but you will have to make the case, you know, why the position is needed before we're going to go down the road of rehiring. You know, it's just a product of the budget and the numbers that we're working with. And I mean, we're going to work with the department heads and, the best we can. But like Aaron said, we won't be able to fill every position back. So you're as department heads, you're going to have to make your case why that specific position is essential to your department, and then we'll go from there.
I agree with what you both said, and you said it so well, so there's no reason to add to it.
Nope.
All right, folks, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to freeze. I'll make a motion for Warren County employment hiring freeze effective immediately.
Second?
Any further discussion from the board? Roll call, please.
Erickson,
Aye.
DeWitt,
Aye.
Arnold,
Aye.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Joseph,
Aye, motion carries. I will tell the public this as well. We won't be the only county that does this. We won't be the only city that does this. Every single county and city, that House file impacts each one of them. People want lower property taxes. A big driver of that is going to be counties and cities, and so we might be early. We're not the first. We certainly won't be the last, but the spend will decrease. All right, number 5 is a public hearing for the rezoning of lands from A1 to C2 for an application submitted by Mark Putney. At this time, I'll make a motion to go into public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Erickson,
Aye.
DeWitt,
Aye.
Arnold,
Aye.
McIntyre,
Aye.
Joseph,
Aye, we are in public hearing. Good morning, Lindsay.
Morning. Mark Putney and his brother Kurt, they own a parcel on R63 Highway. It actually is in the middle of 160 acres. This 3-acre piece was split back in 2004. Mark wants to rezone this 3-acre parcel for the purpose of relocating his auction business. And when we were going through facts of finding, this is not in our current land use plan, and it would be considered spot zoning because there is no commercial around it. However, with that being said, it's actually within the urban growth area for the city of Indianola. So I reached out to the city of Indianola, actually twice, just to verify with them, and it is within their community mixed area, and they have no issues with what Mark is wanting to do out here. So when I presented that to the zoning commission, our conclusion was just basically what I stated. He wants to use the 3 acres of ground split out of this. He'd like to build a building to house his offices for his auction business, as well as be able to store many auction items inside. The large farm equipment and vehicles would still be stored outside, as he has those available for the different auctions. And this does meet the city of Indianola's comprehensive land use plan, and they have no issues or objections to the rezoning. I recommended hearing all facts and consider correspondence and base their decisions off of evidence and zoning ordinance. And we presented maps. That included the city of Indianola's growth areas, and it is geared towards one of their higher annexation areas. So that's kind of the direction they plan to go with this. And also we had one couple showed up that night that had received a notice, and they didn't have any issues. They were just here to kind of hear what was going on. And we did have a gentleman that showed up that evening. He lives 2 miles north of the property. He did not receive notification because he's outside of the 500 feet. And he was definitely against it, and he said he would be here today. I don't see him in the audience. We did receive a letter yesterday from Jeff Johnson that he says, "Dear Lindsay, I've been in contact with Mark Putney regarding the rezoning of his farm at 9799 R63 Highway. Please know that as Mark's neighbor to the south of his farm, I'm completely supportive of this new venture and the rezoning." So I included the notice or the emails from the city of Indianola in your packets as well. And I had reached out, like I said, twice with them just to verify, and no issues from them. So when the zoning commission met, there was a motion to recommend approval of this rezoning, and there was a second to that. And we have a 5-member board, but right now we only have 4 members on the board. So 2 voted aye and 2 voted nay. So when that happens, it automatically comes as a denial to you. So that would explain the denial. So it's actually coming to you with a denial from the zoning commission. However, there was a motion for that, for approval. So I know Mark is here, and that's kind of all I have for presentation, unless you have questions for me.
Thank you, Lindsay. Are there any questions for Lindsay at this time?
Yeah, I do have a question. In your packet, you say that the parcel was split, but it has not been split. It's been surveyed.
It's been split off as a survey, but they've never deeded that.
It's never been deeded, and it's not a
Yes.
separate parcel. It's still one parcel.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that would be my recommendation, is if this would go through, that they deed that over and that becomes a separate parcel.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Lindsay.
Yeah.
All right, we are in public hearing. If anyone from the public would like to speak on this, please step forward, state your name, your address, and we will hear you. Good morning.
Good morning. I am Mark Putney with Putney Auction, and I'm here today just to kind of clear up any questions if there is. We went through the zoning process, been very helpful with that. Indianola is wanting to move that way. I am trying to help that and better a business, broaden the tax basis like we all need, and everything. So I'm wanting to move that way, get more things under roof, more space for us to expand a business. I'm landlocked where I'm at. I can't grow. I want to bring more business to Indianola. I want to expand that. This is a good location. It's on the highway. It is easy access from Des Moines, Indianola, Norwalk. We're drawing from many different areas. We are mostly online now. So the building would house the smaller tools, household coins, that kind of thing. Outside, we would have more room to facilitate our farm machinery, our trucks, the bigger equipment that can't fit inside. This is an obviously good spot for me. I have a letter from the neighbors. There is some people here that are neighbors and can join that might want to talk too. I want to see if you guys have any concerns. I know it came to you with the split decision 2-2. There was not 5-member board there, but it came 2-2, and I know that is a denial, but I was 50-50 split. It's kind of in your guys' hands that way. Is there any questions that I can help you with? And I do know that, yes, if this does go through, I'd like to split that off, but there's not really a reason to do it until we get that done if it does go through.
I don't have a question, but I think you've put a lot of thought into this, and so I want to thank you. I think it will help the city as they continue to grow west, and I'm excited to see your business, so grow out there.
Thank you.
I'll just add, driving by Putney Auction on my way home every day, the property is kept clean.
Very clean.
Vehicles are organized. There's, you drive by some auction houses and they're a little less than desirable to look at, but Mark always does a good job at keeping his stuff organized and cleaned up.
You do, and we've loved having you in the city, but we will love having you in the county too.
Yeah, I love the location I'm at now. I think this is just as good a location, but I need to expand. I need some more room. I'm too landlocked, so.
Yeah, I'd like to add, I like the business plan. I don't have any particular issue with the location or anything like that. My only issue was that split, but as I understand, we can't really make you do that, but I guess I'll take you at your word that if it is rezoned, that you would split that off, because you do talk about broadening, the county tax base and, bringing commercial property. But that split is really the intricate part of allowing us to do that, because if it's not split, then it really doesn't create more commercial property for us. So I guess I'll take you at your word on that about the split.
And I understand exactly where you're coming from, and you understand where I'm coming from. To do that now doesn't quite make sense unless we make this happen, as I hope we do, but any other questions, I'd love to ease your mind on them, or try to anyway. Thank you guys for your time. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, we are in public comment. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Just your name and your address, please, ma'am.
Mary Jo Animas, 21610 G58 Highway, Milo. I am on the Warren County Zoning Commission, and I am the one of them that wanted to approve this. And just because Mark he's going to be around, and I think where he's moving to is a better location than where he's at. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question for the board, and maybe Lindsay can answer it. Is there any interest in if this does go for approval, doing a caveat of sectioning that off? Is that something you'd be interested in doing?
So in 2004, Kevin went through, his dad
Yep, I
went
seen the
through and did a
documents in
plat
there.
of survey at that time, and it went through the city of Indianola, and that was approved. So it is a plat of survey.
Okay.
The next step just has not been taken, and
Okay.
I've had conversations with Mark, and he said absolutely, if this would go through, then he'll go ahead and take that and deed that over, and then it will become its own separate parcel with its own parcel number.
Yeah, that was back in the Diane Bolin and Chuck Bergen days.
Good morning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Malage, 4293 Nevada Street, St. Mary's. I'm here in support of Mark's proposal. This business has been a phenomenal business for our area. A few years ago in COVID, when everything shut down, Mark pivoted with his business. Restaurants were closed down, sports were down, but he pivoted and created an enterprise that it was all of our entertainment now. And whenever I went in to get my items, I saw district judges, I saw lawyers, I saw community leaders all coming in on Sunday to pick up their item. And they were looking to see what was there next. That was a tremendous service for us. Number two, what he and his company has done for volunteering, for raising funds and charities is phenomenal. He uses his auction service. Hundreds and thousands, if not maybe millions of dollars have been raised for charities throughout this county. And so the other thing that I would say is that in regards to spot zoning, there's other properties around Warren County. One that is within a mile of him on 110th Street, the Blake Reynolds Ag and Commercial Fertilizer business that is ag all the way around it. And so this is really something that he's done as much as he can with the building he's had and converted feed store. And so I think this will be a tremendous continuation of that business for a young person who's doing an awful lot for Warren County. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone else?
How we doing, folks?
Tim?
Tim Phillips. Phillips's Floors, 14295 McKinley. I really can't say anything about Mark, people haven't already said, except for bad things. But, I own property just north of there. We call it Laura's Timber Ridge, and we've sold off properties for houses. So that whole area is meant to, to go further, I guess, as far as development. If you look at your maps, it's the red area. I mean, you've got ideas for this. They're right about Mark's business. It's everything that Warren County needs. It brings so much to the county. You can't even stand up here and say everything that it contributes. Mark's good for the county. The business is good for the county. The use of the land right there on the highway, I think is ideal for what he wants to do. And I just wanted to give you my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else or online? Going once, twice, like an auctioneer. Public session is going to be closed. All right, I'll make a motion to end public hearing.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye. We are closed. All right, board discussion.
I think this is an excellent opportunity for the county. I'm excited about broadening the tax base. Thank you, Mark, for continuing to invest in us.
Anyone else? Do we have a motion on the rezone?
I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning for Mark Putney and Curtis Putney, or is it Curtis Putney? Yeah, it's Curtis. As laid out by Lindsay.
Do you want to waive the second and third?
I think we should, yeah. Waiving the second and the third reading.
I'll second.
Board discussion. All right, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye, congratulations, motion carries.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Lindsay.
Thanks for the work on that. Number 6 is consider fiscal year 25 county 5-year construction plan amendment 1 with possible action. Good morning, Tim.
Good morning. This is another piece of that CHBP grant we've talked about for the last month or so. The state wants our 5-year plan to match what that grant application is going to read, and they're afraid that if the grant readers see other funding involved, because these are programmed in the 5-year plan for HBP funding, which is federal dollars, they wanted to remove that and have just the grant be the federal funding, because we can't have more than one source of federal funding. So this amendment just changed the project number and removed the HBP funds from it. That's it. Okay. And we'll be bringing next year's 5-year plan to the board here soon, so.
All right, any questions for our engineer?
On the worksheet, the FA, and maybe you already stated that, but the FA, what is that account
That's
for
federal.
the fund?
Federal funds.
Okay,
Federal aid.
federal aid.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to amend the 5-year construction plan.
Second?
Any discussion from the board? Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Number 7, consider approval for county engineer to sign certain documents with possible action.
This resolution is straight from the Iowa DOT. It is required by them for new county engineers in order to sign certain documents related to projects that are let through the Iowa DOT. So the secondary roads engineer with the DOT sent this to me and said we needed it approved, so.
Any questions for the engineer? Looking for a motion.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve our county engineer to sign certain documents.
Second?
Discussion for the board. Seeing none, roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Number 8, consider JCG Land Services, Inc. permanent easement request for sanitary sewer improvement with possible action. Good morning.
Morning.
Thanks for getting me on the agenda. So this is my first time going through easements. Tanner reached out to County Conservation to request a easement for sanitary sewer improvement, which is in the city of Cumming, adjacent to our Great Western Trail. I have a map here if you guys want. Tanner was willing to come up and answer questions if you guys have. On February 12th, the County Conservation Board approved of the sanitary sewer improvement, but I suppose based on county policies, it now moves to the supervisors to approve that. So
We've got the map up there on the,
Zach, is that it right there?
yes.
Okay.
You want a colored one?
Sure. Thank you.
Do you guys have any questions regarding the public sanitary sewer?
so on that map, where's the Great Western Trail is it the dashed line there?
That's the county Yes, that is the county edge. So the Great Western Trail would be west of that block. That's the property edge, I believe. The county owns 50 foot from center from the trail. Based on the contract, do you guys have any questions?
I don't.
The Warren County Conservation Board recommended that we approve this sanitary sewer easement.
Excellent.
Do you have anything that you'd like to say to the supervisors?
If you guys have any questions, happy to answer them. But like Zach said, pretty straightforward, 208 square feet. This is a part of some, larger planned improvements in the city of Cumming. I know they're planning on doing roads as well as sanitary sewer throughout. But yeah, this is all we're seeking, so.
Okay.
We got it. Thank you, gentlemen.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the JCG Land Services Incorporated permanent easement request for sanitary sewer improvement.
Second.
Any discussion from our board? Roll call, please.
Aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Number 9, consider a power purchase agreement, utility easement with Red Lion Renewables, solar installation at Annette Nature Center with possible action.
All right, I have a few resources that I'll be handing out to you with the map of the specific locations of 3 different solar arrays to be installed at the Middle Swart Lodge, one at our maintenance shop, and another one at the Annette Nature Center.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
So I would like to say about a year ago, Mark Wilson reached out to Terry Dvorak. Terry, I appreciate you being here to represent your company, and I think we're pretty excited about implementing a solar array project here for the county properties. The function that we're trying to pursue is by utilizing renewable energy, we can offset the costs of our electrical grid. And through Red Lion financial estimates, we're looking at potentially saving anywhere from $850 to $1,300 per year through a power purchase agreement. And that's what this proposed contract is that essentially Red Lion will cover all of the costs for purchasing the solar panels, maintenance, installation, and that the Warren County Conservation Board signs the power purchase agreement to purchase energy from their solar arrays. And it will be a net energy transfer between Mid-American and Red Lion. So as we gain credits and gain energy in the summer, we can offset that in the winter. So there's kind of a balance there. Terry, would you like to summarize the project beyond what I just provided to the supervisors?
You did a pretty good job. I mean, you're basically buying electricity from us. We own and pay for the solar arrays. We've done this 155 times throughout the state. So, and I'm in Norwalk, so this is my county too. Yeah, it's the savings that we are able to achieve for the county.
Super.
The counties that I referred to were Hamilton County. They installed Red Lion solar panels for their campground, and Polk County. Polk County installed Red Lion solar panels to their nature center. Both of their representatives praised the company for working with Terry, the reputation, the ability to get maintenance on site if that's ever been needed. It's been a very positive communication that we've received. And on February 12th, the Conservation Board approved of the Warren County Conservation Board to enter into a power purchase agreement, which is now why it's kind of moved to you guys. So they didn't vote to sign this agreement, they voted that I can enter into agreement pending things line up with the perceptions of the supervisors and how we can manage this project.
Okay. How long have you been in Hamilton and Polk County?
Polk County, and I actually met this morning with Polk County to add another system this year and another one next year. We've had Polk County up and running for, I think, 4 years.
Okay.
Red Lion turns 10 this year, so we've got systems that are 8, 9, 10 years old. Hamilton County was 2 years ago. Story County was 2 years ago. Pottawatomie County was last year. Lee County is about 5 years ago. we can go to cities and schools. Like I said, we got 155 systems throughout Iowa. So
Wonderful. Okay.
this is nothing new. It's just nice to be close to home.
Yes, thank you. Okay.
So I've got a question about the contract, section 1.04 subsection C, when it comes down to the malfunctions and emergencies. Not a really big fan of some of the wording in there and hoping you can clear some of that up for me. Basically, part of that subsection says that if such emergency conditions exist due to an event of force majeure, then the parties shall equally bear the cost of such action. So to me, that's like saying if a hailstorm comes through and wipes those solar panels out, basically we're going to be responsible for half the cost to replace them?
Well, depending on what it is, we carry wind and hail insurance. So derecho comes through, tornado comes through, our insurance covers that. Hailstorm comes through, ours covers that. Only other force majeure that I can think of is maybe grass fire, something like that. There's not a whole lot that I can think of. The other part in that section is, it's kind of straightforward. If you're out there if the county is doing something out there and damages the system, then it would pay for it. If you're out there doing maintenance and your mower runs into the equipment and breaks it, well then it's kind of no-brainer that, it's silly that it'd be in a contract, but I mean, you kind of have to anyway. That answer your question, Travis?
Yeah, there's another part here I'm reading through. I don't like the wording on that same paragraph about the provider shall notify buyer immediately upon the discovery of an emergency situation in the system within 24 hours of its discovery, any material malfunction in the operation of the system or of the discovery of an interruption in the supply of solar services. If an emergency condition exists, the provider shall dispatch the appropriate personnel to perform necessary repairs or take corrective action. Basically, it goes on to say the provider may, but shall not be obligated to take such action as provider deems appropriate to prevent such damage or injury. So basically, if a windstorm does come through and tear that up and make it dangerous for the public, it's basically stating that you may, but you're not obligated to.
We can take that may out of there. I mean, the first thing is if there's an emergency situation is to make it safe.
Yep. I understand that.
I have had to do this once. I've been called at 2 a.m. because a lightning strike caused a fire and
understand, we've had some situations in the county, so I just want to be perfectly clear and make sure all the wording is buttoned up in the contracts so that both of us are protected, not, I'm not attacking you or anything like that. There's some language in the contract that I don't care for.
Well, and to be honest, some of that language I haven't read in 10 years.
Okay.
It was an expensive contract to write. Attorneys love to make money, so.
Yep, and the only other discrepancy was that it states that it's a 20-year contract, but then in said section 801, the term is 25 years, so we just need to clean.
We'll catch that. It's a 20.
Clean
It's a
some
good
stuff
catch.
up. Yep.
Zach, has anybody reviewed the contract, besides yourself, or?
Yeah, so I shared this with Dawn Bowman, and she corrected a couple, dates and locations that we needed to get amended. Travis's pick out was not something that came up in our conversation, but I'll applaud Travis on reading that details. That's pretty good to catch, and I'm glad that he did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that Dawn didn't catch that, but I did pass it on to her. But to be fair, it is like a 32-page incredibly dense contract. So thank you, Travis.
No, I really like the idea of the solar project. It was my understanding that your wind turbine was out of commission too, so that's not working anymore. Is that correct?
That is correct. So according to previous board members, it's not worked since the first year or two. I think there was kind of a rush based on the technology, and it's not had its tests before they installed it. With this project, we're hoping to wrap up that windmill into the solar installation to help cover some of the costs. Terry provided us a quote with about $15,000 if we had to remove the windmill out of a lump sum, Whereas if we wrap this up into the power purchase agreement, we can replace that windmill, and it just barely changes the kilowatt hour ratio that we're buying back from Mid-American. It's like pennies is what it comes down to.
Right.
So it would be a pretty 6/10 of a penny, like per kilowatt hour.
Okay.
I'm excited for it. I think, you know, saving the county's money so that we could spend elsewhere is pretty invested, and it's been a positive experience.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that would be something we would table for future, just to get the language.
Well, and
Up or-
I'm in 100% for this. I mean, I'm actually pretty big solar fan. I've built a couple solar systems to power signs that we've built. I would probably like to table until we get some of the verbiage cleaned up. I guess that's what I would be in favor of, but I'm also in favor of approving it with the caveat of getting the language cleaned up.
I would be opposed to tabling it off the contract because I think that Dawn and the attorney, and your attorney, can get that cleaned up, and we can just put that as the caveat in there. That
Okay.
And
that's fine, too.
Got some verbiage to change, and I just don't want to delay it for you. And you're a taxpayer too, so
Yep.
you want to start saving money as soon as possible, right?
And wouldn't we be giving you the power to sign this contract anyways?
That is
So-
correct.
We're basically allowing him to do this and on our behalf, so I do have full confidence in you, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
So it appears you're going to get a motion that's going to approve you signing the power purchase agreement with the understanding that those couple things get cleaned up. And then if it goes well, I mean, we've got a shop yard that are we running solar out there yet?
No.
There might be some additional things for you.
I'm happy to help any of the projects in the county that are feasible.
Understand. All right. Do we have a motion then?
I'll make a motion to approve, the Red Line Renewable Solar Installation at Annette Nature Center with the caveat of cleaning up some of the verbiage in the contract to reflect a more harmonious relationship.
Second.
Discussion from the board? Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, congratulations. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Number 10, consider general assistance policies and Chapter 3 Warren County General Assistance Ordinance revisions with possible action. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So, as you know, currently, right now, in the Chapter 3 General Assistance Ordinance, it states that an applicant shall not exceed 3 benefit approvals within a 12-month period. So I am asking that we revise this to change it so that it shall not exceed 1 approval within a fiscal year 12-month period, with the exception of a second approval at the discretion of the department head based on the circumstances and the budget availability, just to be respectful of the current general assistance budget. Also, in our policies, it states currently that an applicant is entitled to receive up to $300 for utilities benefits within that 12-month period. I'm also asking that we revert that, it says right now $400. I'm asking that we revert it back to $300 within the fiscal year. So,
I really appreciate all the work that you have done here. It's been challenging, and this is one of the departments that is really affected by House File 718. So thank you so much for looking at this and trying to serve more households.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, that is what it'll allow us to do. It'll allow us to serve more households with the money that we do have, and to be respectful of the budget that we're currently in.
And I believe you've gone above and beyond in helping us with the budget, even with your own minus from your budget. So anyways, thank you.
Thank you.
I would agree. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the general assistance policies with Chapter 3 Warren County General Assistance Ordinance revisions.
I'll second it. Motion and a second. Any discussion from the board? No. I would just state for the record and publicly that you are truly doing a good job.
Thank you, Aaron.
You are looking at your budget with a microscope. You're trying to figure out what's the best way with the availability of funds that you have that we can do the most good.
Yeah.
And we've got to make some tough choices, and I appreciate that you're really leaning into that and excelling there. So, in a perfect world, we'd have unlimited resources because goodness knows there's about an unlimited need of resources for some of these things, and these are some of the more vulnerable people in our county. So, roll call, please.
Erickson?
Aye.
Witt?
Aye?
Arnold?
Aye.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Cook?
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Number 11 is also you. We've got considered general assistance. See how the schedule? That's Michaela.
That's why I kept standing.
She's not here, but she'll stack them.
Yeah.
Oh, there she is. You're hiding. She stacks them for us. So if you're Tim Hill and you're going to be on 3 times, well, then you get 3 in a row.
All right.
There you go. All right. Consider general assistance coordinator position change with possible action.
So as you know, the general assistance position was one of those positions that were to be backfilled, and then with the timeline of everything. So to, again, be respectful of the decisions that are being made by this board, I am requesting that to change the position from a full-time position in general assistance to a part-time position that's a shared position with a health service employee. So we would make it part-time general assistance and part-time health services to be respectful of the budget again, so that I have a person in there. It does, however, ask for a reduction from a full-time general assistance coordinator position to a part-time general assistance coordinator position. So, any questions from?
And do you have it, I know you had proposed like Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for that person to be there. Is that something we can go ahead and start promoting to the public?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
And I specifically thought of Monday, Wednesday, Friday, so there would not be more than a 24-hour period to get back to the public if someone came in on those days that we did not have a general assistance person in the office.
Excellent, thank
I
you.
was just going to say, if you have the ability, that would be my preference too.
Okay.
Just so there's not a 2-day gap. If someone needs something, they're in dire straits, they're looking for resources. I'd shorten it up if you can, if it works.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And again, this is really creative thinking on your behalf. It's utilizing current employees we have, so we don't have to give pink slips, right?
Right.
I really appreciate that because we've got some great employees in your department. So thank you for working this out, and thank you to the employees who are
Thank
working
you.
with us on it too.
And just a heads up to Fallon, or I guess a hats off to Fallon for willing to take on this role as a dual clerk.
Yeah, I agree, Travis. I'm really glad she is willing to do that as well.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
all right, thank you.
all right, thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Yes, we had a motion, didn't we?
Did we have a second?
A second.
I'll make a motion and.
Oh, I thought we did.
Or did we? I don't
don't-
recall.
Well, let's start it
Kimberly,
over.
where are
I'll
we?
make a motion for a general assistance coordinator position change.
Okay,
There you
thank
go.
you.
We got a motion. Maybe a third motion. I don't know. A motion and I'll make a second.
I'm going to triple check everything.
Roll call, please.
Erickson?
Aye.
Witt?
Aye?
Arnold?
Aye.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Cook?
Aye. Number 12 is receive and file reports, Veterans Affairs. I will make a motion to receive and file the Veterans Affairs report.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Erickson?
Aye.
Witt?
Aye?
Arnold?
Aye.
McIntyre?
Aye.
Cook?
Aye. Motion carries. Number 13, supervisor report. Anybody? You certainly can if you want to. If not, we've got budget time that we're already behind too on, so whatever you'd like.
Okay. I like to forego it now so we can move on to our other meetings. Make a note to report at the next meeting.
I'll just report real quickly. I had attended the Badger Creek budget approval, and they did go ahead and go with a 50%, or I'm sorry, not 50, that'd be bad, 50 cents levy, which was actually had been lowered quite a bit. As they have a budget surplus, they proposed raising through taxation across, that's primarily in Madison County, Badger Creek watershed, a small portion northwest Warren County. There are some people in the Badger Creek watershed there. And they had plans to complete $80,000 in projects this fiscal year. The other meeting I attended was HERDA, and they have partnered with United Way to provide transportation in Dallas and Warren County and have a proposed new facility in Waukee and are still looking for people to partner with in Warren County for their parking their fleet and that. And the other thing was we had a training last week on planning and zoning, was well attended from Iowa State University. And I'll be attending the conference at ISAC on the 13th and 14th of this month.
Thank you, Brian. Anyone else?
I guess I would just like to say that I also attended with Brian and Crystal the Iowa State University Introduction to Zoning. We learned a lot.
And Stephanie.
Stephanie was there.
Yeah, sorry, Stephanie was there too. I forgot.
I'm easy to forget. It's
But no,
okay.
there was a lot of stuff that that was pretty introductory, but some of the stuff that revived some thoughts in my head, and haven't really attended much. There hasn't been a lot going on for me, but besides personal development in reading more tax code, zoning code, and contracts that I would like to admit. So we, at least I can't speak for the other board members, have heard all of our residents loud and clear with some of the issues that have been going around, and we're all doing our due diligence and trying to get the best outcome on the budget that we possibly can.
Thank you, Travis. All right, public input. We are on number 14. Public input will be limited to 3 minutes per individual. Board will not take any action on the comments due to the requirements of the open meetings law, but may and frequently do so in the future. No public input will be allowed for any of today's agenda items. Is there anyone from the public, either in the room or online, who would like to comment? All right, number 15 is scheduling our next meeting is March 18, 2025. That's our 6 p.m. evening meeting. That is a meeting that is set in the evening for your benefit in the event that you'd like to attend, and that's more conducive with a general work schedule. You may certainly do so. It's March 18, 2025, 6 p.m. here in this room. With that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, we are adjourned. Thank you all for your time. Have a great week.